My wife was fine with not having kids before. Now she wants her own baby and says I should have married the woman who attacked me so our son could have a real mom. 6 years ago, at a friend's wedding, a troubling incident occurred. I, a 28-year-old man, had been drinking, and Anna, a 39-year-old woman who had persistently tried to engage with me throughout the night, took advantage of my inebriated state while I was nearly unconscious. This event plunged me into a severe depression. The situation escalated when, a few weeks later, Anna appeared at my doorstep, announcing she was pregnant. Despite my pleas for her to consider an abortion, my father and stepmother allowed her into our home as if nothing untoward had happened. Firmly opposed to fatherhood at the time, I made it clear to Anna that I wanted no relationship with her, though I was willing to provide child support. This stance led to a rift with my father, whom I subsequently cut off for supporting Anna. In the following months, my son was born, and Anna vanished without a trace, leaving me and my family in the dark about her whereabouts. Left to fend for myself due to my estrangement from my father, I unexpectedly fell deeply in love with my newborn son the moment I saw him. Experiencing his will to survive and holding him in my arms became the pinnacle of happiness in my life. Despite the difficulties, I managed to create a nurturing environment for us both. 3 years later, I met my now wife Claire, who was 26 at the time. After dating for a year, we married and have been together for 2 years. From the start, Claire embraced my son, Archie, now 5 years old, with open arms. She engaged him with stories and games, always showing him kindness and never once speaking ill of him. Aware of my past, she approached it with empathy and understanding, which made me feel incredibly fortunate to have met her. Her family also welcomed Archie warmly, often babysitting him and even taking him on trips, giving Claire and me some much-needed couple time. A few weeks ago, I broached the topic of getting a vasectomy to enhance our intimate life. Claire hesitated when I confirmed my decision, then abruptly shifted the conversation. I had been upfront about not wanting more children even before our marriage, to which she initially agreed, satisfied with having Archie in our lives. Claire seemed troubled by our conversations about having more children, so I kept bringing up the topic until she confessed that she had hoped I would change my mind about expanding our family. She explained that my transformation into an excellent father to Archie made her believe I would be just as wonderful with a second child. Claire even mentioned that she had casually asked Archie if he would like a sibling, and his excitement had grown. This revelation upset me. I felt she was using our son to sway my decision, leading to a significant argument between us. The following day, Claire apologized and asked me to reconsider, assuring me of her support regardless of my decision, but emphasizing how much it meant to her. I expressed my hurt over her not mentioning these feelings earlier, to which she responded that people's desires can evolve over time. She then suggested we discuss this with her parents to get their perspective before I made any final decisions. Reluctantly, I agreed, despite my discomfort at the thought of discussing such personal matters with my in-laws. Claire reassured me that she had only sought their advice because of their close relationship. However, the dinner with her parents, which we attend bi-weekly to coincide with her father Phil's day off, turned chaotic. During the dinner, I shared my initial reluctance to have children and how Archie became my one exception. Claire's parents expressed their wish for Claire to have a biological child, highlighting how much she yearned for this experience and suggesting it would be beneficial for all of us. The conversation took a hurtful turn when they implied that, while they adored Archie, they couldn't fully embrace him as their grandchild since he wasn't related by blood. This led to a distressing comment from my mother-in-law about Archie not being her real grandson, even if adopted. The dinner ended on an unsettling note when Claire admitted her reservations about adopting Archie. She feared she might not bond with him as deeply as with a biological child, further fueling her desire to conceive a child of her own. Although devastated by the conversation, I refrained from causing a scene in front of my in-laws, simply requesting some time to think things over. Now, sitting at home, I am grappling with unsettling thoughts about my relationship with Claire. I had never realized she harbored such feelings about Archie, leading me to question whether her affection had been an act all along. The prospect of having another child worries me. I fear that Claire and her family might neglect Archie in favor of a biological grandchild. Conversely, choosing not to expand our family could breed resentment or worse, potential hostility towards my son. Despite these fears, I am hesitant to end what has been in many ways, a perfect relationship. I deeply love Claire, yet I find myself wondering, would I be wrong to consider divorce over this? I am currently without a confidant to turn to, so any external advice would be greatly appreciated. To address some anticipated questions, yes, Claire and I discussed the matter of children multiple times before marriage, and she seemed accepting of not having any. I do not treat her as a nanny despite earning more. She has a good job and works from home, but we still keep Archie in daycare to ensure he gets to socialize and so that her work remains uninterrupted. I have been in therapy for 4 years, and so has Archie, to navigate our complex family dynamics. Regarding why I hadn't gotten a vasectomy earlier, I admit to my procrastination and lack of judgment. Similarly, our decision to marry after only a year of dating was driven by love and perhaps a rush of emotions. Looking back, it seems a bit foolish. As for a DNA test, the question seems irrelevant to our family's current issues, but for clarity, I did take one for legal reasons related to potential international travel for work. Yes, Archie is biologically mine. Now, as I reflect on all these elements, the path forward remains unclear, but the need for a thoughtful decision is evident. As for what happened to Anna, it remains a mystery. After she left, I never heard from her again. My father claimed ignorance, and my friends from the wedding also had no information about her whereabouts. I even attempted to report the incident with Anna, but unfortunately, the outdated attitudes in my home country meant the police did not take my concerns seriously. Despite knowing my in-laws' likely bias, I agreed to the dinner because I genuinely wanted to understand Claire's perspective better. I was, and still am, filled with confusion and doubt about the entire situation regarding having another child. I never anticipated that they would hold such views about my son. In online comments, people often assume the worst about stepmothers. Yet, in her own way, Claire has shown care for Archie, albeit without seeing him fully as her own son, which doesn't fulfill her emotionally as a mother might hope. However, she hasn't been abusive or harmful toward him. It's natural for someone to desire a biological child, and perhaps I've overlooked subtle signs of this in Claire's behavior. For instance, when we moved in together, Claire suggested taking Archie out of daycare to care for him herself since she works from home. Although that plan didn't materialize, she still picks him up daily after work and spends quality time with him until I return home. Her family has also been actively involved. They often offer to babysit Archie, and during dinners at our home, my father-in-law would immerse himself completely in activities with Archie, ignoring everyone else. This entire situation has left me bewildered because there were no obvious signs pointing to the current family discord. On August 10th, 2024, I shared an update expressing gratitude towards those who read my previous post and offered advice. It was heartening to see many people share their experiences as step-parents or stepchildren and attempt to empathize with Claire's position. The feedback I received previously offered new insights, and many asked for an update, so here it is. Since Archie has his football games every Saturday, I arranged for a friend, whose son is also on the team, to watch him for a while. I wanted to ensure that any potentially heated discussions with Claire would happen away from our son, so we planned to talk after returning home from the game. Many have suggested that I consider divorce both to protect my son and to allow Claire the chance to pursue her desires. Despite these recommendations, I found myself not ready to let go of our marriage. In our conversation, I was open to discussing the possibility of a second child, but only if we engaged in couples therapy to address the underlying issues, especially how her family views Archie. The conversation began with Claire immediately apologizing. She confessed her lifelong dream of a large family and acknowledged that she had initially lied about being okay with not having more children because she feared losing me. She loved both me and Archie deeply and found herself trapped between her desires and the reality of our agreement. Claire revealed that she had hoped over time I might see how well she cared for Archie and reconsider our stance on expanding our family. What I found most astonishing was that her mother had initially advised her against marrying me, believing it unfair to expect me to change my fundamental life choices. It was also her mother's idea to frequently involve herself with Archie, aiming to strengthen the bond between him and Claire, potentially easing into the reality of him being our only child. When I questioned why her mother made such pointed comments about the importance of blood relations, Claire explained that it was a tactic to help me understand why having biological children was so important to her. During our conversation, I expressed how deeply hurt I was by their comments and by Claire's sudden change of heart about the adoption. Claire shared that she was terrified that Archie might someday wish to reconnect with his biological mother, Anna, and that he might no longer love her as a result. She explained that her fears were fueled by stories she had read about other step-parents who felt sidelined, particularly when biological parents re-entered the picture or in the event of a divorce. Claire's anxieties intensified about a year ago. She confessed that she always introduced herself as Archie's stepmom at his daycare because she didn't want to assume Anna's role, respecting the absent mother's place in Archie's life. Frustrated, I reminded her that Anna had abandoned us, leaving no role for her to assume. This led to another heated argument where we seemed to go in circles. Claire accused me of not understanding the complexities of being a step-parent. In response, I told her she was battling imaginary enemies, suggesting her fears were unfounded. Once we had calmed down, she admitted that her fears of replacement grew when Archie began asking about his mother. She also felt guilty, believing that her insistence on correcting people about her role prompted his questions. Claire further accused me of still harboring feelings for Anna, suggesting that my reluctance to depict Anna negatively was proof. In defense, I explained that in a moment of panic, I fabricated a softer story about Anna, claiming she left because Archie was very sick at birth and she couldn't bear to watch him suffer. I was trying to spare Archie the pain of feeling abandoned. The argument escalated when Claire suggested that I should have located Anna so that Archie could know his real mother and possibly share custody. At that point, my frustration boiled over, and I vehemently defended my decision, emphasizing Anna's manipulation and abandonment. I argued that due to her actions, including the assault and her complete disinterest in Archie's life thereafter, she should not be part of his life. This emotional discussion underscored the complex layers of our family dynamics and the deep-seated fears and uncertainties that both Claire and I were grappling with. Claire retaliated by suggesting that I could never understand what a woman endures and hinted that Anna might have left because of postpartum depression, PPD, worsened by my decision to move countries, making it impossible for Anna to find us. I refuted this, reminding her that the move was not made to evade Anna, and everyone back home who knew me had no contact information to share. I was not in hiding. The argument reached a breaking point when Claire accused me of being the reason Anna left, claiming I hadn't stepped up to marry her. Although she immediately tried to apologize, insisting she didn't mean it, the damage was done. Overwhelmed, I asked her to leave and expressed my desire for a divorce. In a moment of profound sadness, I locked myself in Archie's room and wept until she departed. Claire packed some belongings and later texted me from her parents' home, confirming her stay there. The remainder of the day passed in a haze. I picked up Archie from our friend, who, upon hearing about the divorce, offered their support along with a comforting embrace. They reassured me they would be there for us, particularly if I needed help with Archie. I decided to make the best of the day for Archie, turning it into a fun pajama party, just the two of us. We ordered pizza, played with his new toys, and watched movies until he fell asleep. Now, with sleep eluding me, I'm writing this update as a form of catharsis, feeling as though my life has crumbled. The heartbreak is palpable, and I'm dreading how Archie will handle the news. This will likely be my final update, as there seems to be nothing more to say. I am grateful for all the advice I've received. In the comments, someone affirmed my decision, noting the severity of Claire siding with someone who hurt me deeply over my own experiences. The encouragement to pursue divorce, seen as the right decision for both myself and my son, brings some solace during this turbulent time. I appreciate the support from everyone, including those who advised me to pursue child support from Anna. The situation with Claire has indeed revealed significant challenges. Despite backtracking on her statements about blood ties and her doubts about adoption, Claire persisted in suggesting that Archie should spend time with his biological mother and implied that I should have made more efforts to keep Anna involved as Archie's mother. This perspective is troubling, especially given her suggestion that I should have married Anna despite her having assaulted me. Sexual assault is grievous, regardless of the victim's gender, and it does not diminish my masculinity to refuse marriage to my assailant. On the contrary, I believe it's essential to stand strong for both my well-being and Archie's. It's clear that protecting Archie is paramount, especially given the potential manipulations regarding a sibling. This is a situation where Claire's influence could be harmful, not just in terms of sibling dynamics, but in the broader emotional manipulation that may be occurring. Switching to another pressing issue, my relationship with my future mother-in-law has taken a surprising turn regarding our wedding plans. My fiancé, 27M, and I, 26F, got engaged in February 2024, with a wedding planned for March 2025 to coincide with the anniversary of when we first met. We chose a light blue and white theme for the wedding. Recently, while shopping for wedding dresses with my mom and sister, I found the perfect dress that only needed minor tailoring. I shared photos with my fiancé, who found it beautiful. However, trouble arose when my future mother-in-law, upon seeing the dress via my fiancé, immediately phoned me. I didn't answer as I was still out with my family. Upon returning to the home I share with my fiancé, I was confronted by her. She accused me of breaking a non-existent promise to wear her 50-year-old wedding dress. I was taken aback, as I had never agreed to such a thing. Our interaction escalated quickly as she called me a liar and claimed I didn't deserve to marry her son, which was shocking given our previously good relationship. I was stunned by my future mother-in-law's reaction. After all the efforts I'd made to be liked by her, it was disheartening to see everything unravel over a dress. After she left, my fiancé came to talk to me. I recounted the accusations hurled at me, accusations about promises I never made. He then shared his mother's perspective, claiming that years ago when we first started dating, I had admired her wedding dress and supposedly expressed a desire to wear it. It's been 5 years since that day, and honestly, I don't recall saying such a thing, especially since the dress isn't to my taste. The next morning, I woke up to a string of messages from her, labeling me a liar and questioning my character. It hurt deeply, especially since I had thought we had a good relationship. When I shared these messages with my fiancé, he seemed to think she was just upset about the dress. But I struggled to understand. This is my wedding, so shouldn't I be able to choose what I wear? I need some advice on how to handle this situation. Update 1. I eventually managed to have a serious conversation with my fiancé about the dress. He reiterated his mother's feelings but seemed dismissive when I explained that I wanted to choose my own dress for our wedding, insisting that it was a family affair. I calmly clarified that while our union involves our families, the decision about my dress should be mine, especially if we were financing the wedding ourselves. He had initially found the dress I chose beautiful, or so he said. It turned out he only complimented it to please me, and actually disliked it. When I suggested wearing another item belonging to his mother as a compromise, he rejected the idea outright, stating that his mother had only offered her wedding dress and that I should be grateful for that offer. This has only added to my confusion and frustration, as it feels like my preferences are being disregarded in favor of appeasing his mother. In frustration, I confronted my fiancé, asking rhetorically if I was marrying him or his mother. His response was loud and dismissive, insisting that his mother's request was trivial and accusing me of overreacting about the wedding dress. After he belittled my feelings, I left the room to call my mom and explain the entire ordeal. When I returned downstairs, he had already left, later texting me that he would stay with his mother until I came to my senses. This situation has forced me to reevaluate our entire relationship. I can't envision a marriage where his mother's influence is so pervasive, nor do I want to become someone constantly complaining about their in-laws, though I find myself in that position now. In the comments section of my post, people shared their thoughts. One commenter couldn't understand the fixation some have with preserving a wedding dress that no longer holds practical value, noting that the tradition of passing down dresses made sense when they were handmade and expensive to create. Another pointed out that my problem seems more with my fiancé than with my mother-in-law, highlighting that he should support me rather than automatically siding with his mother. They questioned whether this was a recurring issue, as my previously good relationship with my mother-in-law had deteriorated rapidly. One commenter labeled my mother-in-law as irrational, manipulative, and controlling, warning that if she's like this now, things could worsen after the wedding. They suggested that perhaps my mother-in-law had not changed, but simply never had an opportunity to reveal this side of her personality. This whole experience has drastically altered my view of her, leaving me confused and reconsidering the dynamics of our future together. Update 2, August 29th, 2024. Thank you all for your supportive comments. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my mom who echoed the sentiment that my fiancé's behavior was both strange and immature. Later, my fiance's mother called, insisting we needed to talk. She began by accusing me of reneging on a promise to wear her wedding dress, which hurt her deeply. Before I could even respond, she stated she could forgive me only if I agreed to wear her dress. I firmly rejected this condition, reiterating my desire to choose my own wedding attire. I even proposed wearing another item of hers as a compromise, but she was adamant about the dress. As I tried to clarify that I had never made such a promise, and it might have been a misunderstanding possibly involving one of my fiance's ex-girlfriends, she lost her temper. She hurled insults, calling me a liar and unworthy, which led me to end the call abruptly and block her number. Subsequently, my fiancé texted me, criticizing me for allegedly yelling at his mother and calling my actions immature, though she was the one who had escalated the situation. I asked him to meet me at our house to discuss everything, but he said he would come the next day, leaving me anxious and waiting. Update 3, August 30th, 2024. Again, I'm overwhelmed by your support. Thank you. When my fiancé finally arrived, I confronted him about his and his mother's insistence on the dress, emphasizing that this issue was no longer just about the dress, but about his lack of support for me. He attempted to interject, but I stressed that taking his mother's side in this dispute was unacceptable. He claimed he was merely supporting what was right, but I firmly disagreed, asserting that as an integral part of our wedding, I should feel comfortable in my dress. The conversation grew heated as he accused me of potentially canceling our wedding over a stupid dress and treating the situation like a joke. I stood my ground, explaining that his reaction and refusal to support me had led me to seriously question our future together. His anger only intensified when I implied our marriage was conditional on resolving these issues, highlighting the deep rifts that these conflicts had exposed. Once again, in a sadly predictable manner, my fiancé tried to leave during our heated discussion. I implored him to stay and address our issues, warning that I was close to ending things. Shockingly, he turned and slapped me before storming out and retreating to his mother's house. This incident left me stunned and deeply shaken. Thank you all for your supportive comments throughout this ordeal. They have been incredibly helpful. I am now determined to move on swiftly, hoping to find someone who appreciates me and respects the wedding plans I've so carefully put together. After the slap, many of you expressed outrage and advised pressing charges, which I intend to do. This assault has erased any remaining affection I might have had for him. It's frightening to think of what could have happened if I had married him, as some of you shared stories of personalities changing drastically after marriage. Update 4, August 30th, 2024. A brief update this time. Thank you again for all your kind, and some not so kind, words. This morning I went to the police station and filed for a restraining order. I documented the injury with photos and captured video evidence of him at my house, which will support my case in court. I've decided to repurpose the wedding venue for an early birthday celebration instead, turning a painful memory into a moment of personal empowerment. After initially blocking, then unblocking my ex and his mother to officially end things, I had to mute their numbers due to an overwhelming number of calls and messages from her. I sent a final message to my ex, definitively ending our relationship and calling out his unacceptable behavior. His response was a mix of apologies and pleas for forgiveness, which I'm not inclined to consider. This update might be my last for a while, but I'm grateful for everyone's support during this tumultuous time. Your advice has been invaluable in navigating these challenges.